Welcome to the latest episode of Six Figure Secrets for Fractional Experts. My name is Bradley Jacobs. I'm your host. I'm the founder and CEO of Mylance. Today, I have Adam Nathan with us. Adam, welcome to the show.
Great. Well, thanks for having me here, Bradley.
Absolutely. So Adam is the co-founder and CEO of Blaze. It's the AI marketing tool for businesses of one. Tell us more, Adam. What does your tool do? Why did you build it? What problem does it solve?
Yeah, well, Blaze is a tool that helps freelancers, consultants, agencies, entrepreneurs, small business owners create a lot more content in half the time. So it's really like a virtual marketer for your team. It produces long form text like blogs, visual content like social media, video content like ads, Instagram Reels, TikTok content, and not just produces that content, but lets you edit it and then schedules and posts it for you. So it's really designed for folks that have to do marketing but aren't inherently marketers. We serve a lot of people like financial advisors, life coaches, personal trainers, and of course, your standard marketing consultants as well, who, in addition to wearing 10 hats, then have to produce a lot of content to raise awareness and get leads and convert them and serve them. And so Blaze really helps folks that don't have the time or skills, but that need to do great marketing to help to grow their business much faster than they could on their own.
One of the most challenging pieces is, yes, time to create the marketing materials, but so often it's what do I put out there? I don't want to contribute to the noise. There's so much content, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. And I have a thought, but I want to hear your thought. How do people answer that question and then use your tool? Because I imagine your tool, or maybe it does, but does it come up with what you should say?
Yeah, it's a great question. When we launched Blaze a year ago, we did have a brainstorming wizard that we put in the product, but most of the wizards that helped you create content were focused on outputs like Instagram or blog posts or newsletters or websites. And one of the surprising insights a couple months in was that I think maybe one of our top three most used wizards was this one around brainstorming ideas, because indeed a lot of folks out there before they don't even know what to write yet, and so the first thing they come to us with a question on is like, what should I be writing about? And so we have actually recently expanded our brainstorming wizards to go much more in depth by channel. And then we also have a wizard, an overarching wizard that creates a marketing plan for you. And it does that by first looking at all of the content that you've written externally. You can integrate your social media accounts like Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. You can also integrate your internal files like your Notion or Google Drive. And what Blaze can do is read through all of what you've written and all of what you're working on internally to figure out who your target customer is, what products and services you're selling, what your alternatives are, what's your unique selling proposition, what are the reasons to believe or benefits of your product, and then come up with specific ideas by channel on those on each of those USPs. And so we've gone really deep into this brainstorming area because it is the first step, as you mentioned, in the process of just trying to figure out what content to produce. And a lot of folks out there aren't professional marketers. I'd say a third of our customers aren't online in some channels at all. They're going from 0 to 1 with Blaze on social media or SEO. Another third of our customers are doing some stuff, but admittedly, they're not doing a very good job at it. They're not seeing any growth or impressions or impact. And so that means 2/3 of our customers know that they need to be using the internet to grow, but by their own admission aren't doing a good job. And so the first step of that, as you mentioned, is strategy. And that's a place where now we see more and more Blaze customers starting when they use the product.
So what I'm hearing is you solve two different problems, because there is the actual creation of the marketing materials. That is certainly a challenge, right? If you're not creative focused, design focused, which most people are not, myself included. And then there's the, what do I actually say? And so I guess from your point of view, which is there one of those that's more important, or one of those that Blaze helps solve more so? Or is one you had to build the first part to make this second part useful?
Yeah. So we now think about our product in terms of what we call full cycle marketing or full stack marketing, where really marketing is a process, or at its best, a growth loop, not just a set of disparate activities. And it starts with brainstorm, as you mentioned, just figuring out ideas on what to write. Then there's generating the content itself. Then there's editing, because whether you're writing the content or AI is writing it for you as a first draft, you often need to go back and collaborate, sometimes with a team, sometimes on your own, to make it really, really good. Then you need to actually schedule and post it. And in that process, there's also syndication of content. Even if you wrote, for example, a blog post or you made a podcast or you wrote an ebook or you made a really great LinkedIn post, you want to share that across channels. So it takes a lot of time to copy and restructure and repost that content. And then there's actually analyzing it to say like, okay, I did a ton of stuff. What actually worked? How do I do more like the winners? And all of those pieces take time. And so what we built at Blaze is a tool that does all those 5 key steps for you with AI, making it smarter and easier and faster at each of those steps. It starts, as you mentioned, with Brainstorm. I'd say a lot of AI tools out there are focused mostly on generation. But what we've seen by talking to our customers, we have hundreds of thousands of people using the platform now every single day, is that generation is just a slice of what people need to do if they're really to use marketing to grow their visibility on the internet. And the key part there is that it's not a process from start to finish. It really should be a loop where you're taking learnings from what has worked and what didn't, and using those to produce even better content more consistently the next time, so that you're actually getting better and better at marketing, getting more impressions, more leads, more sales over time. If you don't actually turn that kind of process into a loop, you're kind of never getting better, never accelerating. And I think that's where a lot of freelancers, entrepreneurs, consultants get stuck, because they're just doing the same thing over and over, and they're asking themselves, why isn't it working? And that's because there's no feedback loop that they're getting in terms of seeing how their content's really performing with their audience or community.
So is there a report kind of at the end of the week or the end of the month of like, okay, this kind of content for you did the best and this kind of content didn't?
Yeah, so we have an analytics section in the tool. So for any account that you've linked, and you can integrate with Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, your CMS for your blog posts, and many more. We pull all of your posts into Blaze, both ones generated by Blaze as well as anything that you did manually on your own. And we show you engagement statistics for those posts. So how many views did it get? How many comments did it get? How many shares or relikes? And we sort those so you can see what the content was, how it performed. And I think the most important part from my perspective is this button that says generate more. And so we can show you, like Netflix style, your top 10 posts on LinkedIn. And you can click a button and we will generate 10, 20, 30 more posts like the post that you created. It's a really helpful way to use AI to sort through all of the morass of data and details, figure out what the signal is from the noise, and then quickly get a lot more like that.
So you must know so much about what works and doesn't work on, let's just talk about LinkedIn. Most of our audience is using LinkedIn to generate leads. What can you share with the audience as far as like, what are the most effective strategies on LinkedIn? And I have tons of thoughts on this, but like want yours I'm just going to get leads. I'll leave it like super open-ended, but to publish content, get engagements, and eventually leads. What works?
I wouldn't call myself an expert at this, but I see a lot of people just failing to adhere to the basics. And so this might sound repetitive to any of your listeners who are advanced LinkedIn influencers or posters, but a lot of people aren't posting enough. And so rule number 1 is post consistently. Just try and post every single day, including the weekends. That's a really key way to just make sure that you're in the algorithm. And it's kind of a rule of thumb that if you don't post at all, you're never going to get any leads. But a lot of folks, I think, spend a lot of time on a single post and think that, if I want one really, really great post, that'll go viral. That's not how the algorithm on LinkedIn works. You have to post consistently. And I think great marketing is not about saying 100 different things one time. It's about saying one thing 100 times. So if you are a freelancer out there and you're trying to get clients in a specific area, saying, I can be helpful on X, and here's what I do, and finding 100 ways of repeating that over and over teaches the algorithm to serve your content to folks who are looking for it. And you can create a virtuous cycle there where, if on your 10th post, you start to get folks that look like your customers, that teaches the algorithm that people like that like your content. And then by the 100th post, you're getting way more of those folks in the same density, but at a greater scale. So I'd say one thing that, and certainly AI can help just generate all that content, because I write on LinkedIn, I write on Twitter. It's really time consuming and boring to find different ways of saying the same thing. I hate doing it. I procrastinate on it all the time. And I'm always surprised just using Blaze myself. If you look at all of my social media, most of the first drafts are written by Blaze. Not just how much time it saves me, which it certainly does, but also how good it is at writing the content. So I'd say one is post consistently. And then the second part, which has nothing to do with AI, is just engage on content. Another way to teach the algorithm who might like your content is by engaging on other people's content who are serving the same customers. Sometimes this is called an engagement pod. You can do it proactively where you work with other people who are posting in the same area and say, hey, let's all like and share and comment on each other's posts, or you can do it just on your own and teach the algorithm that way. But creating this virtuous loop where your content is getting shared by other people, you're engaging, can basically create this community of sorts on LinkedIn where the algorithm is serving your content next to other people's content who looks like you, who look like you. And that's another way, I think not just posting, but engaging on content, commenting, liking, responding to people who comment on your posts. All that's a really important part of the equation.
So I'm curious. I'm looking at your social media, and your last post on LinkedIn was 5 days ago, and it looks like you had some more consistency before that. How do you think about your own strategy, practicing what you preach, or is LinkedIn maybe just not that big part of your personal LinkedIn strategy? But I'm curious.
Yeah. So I was running some tests on this myself. So I think for like 3 weeks or so, I posted every single day and I wanted to see what my account growth looked like then. And then I've stopped posting as kind of a control week to see, okay, if I don't post, what happens? It was, because obviously I wouldn't want to come on a podcast like this and tell all your listeners to post every day without seeing if it worked myself. And it did make a difference. It's I can pull up my numbers now, but I think my follower growth was like I gained like 100 followers a week over those 3 or 4 weeks. So I was posting consistently. There's also click throughs to my company profile, so not just my profile, but Blaze. Blaze's account growth expanded even more than mine did, and that's really what I was looking for, was to not just gain my own followers, but move people to my products and get them to click through to the website. It's basically a test to say like, okay, well, does LinkedIn make a difference to our top of funnel at Blaze? And posting consistently, it turned out did matter.
When you see what doesn't work, I think the opposite question is important as well, maybe even more important. What does not work on LinkedIn? Because as you said, it takes time, it takes effort, right? You got to be consistent about it. And what you don't want to do is put all this time and effort in and have tons of posts that literally nobody likes, right? What should you not post?
I think the number one thing that doesn't work is posting about random topics. And so I think what a lot of people do wrong is that they don't double or triple down on something that they're passionate about or know a lot about. And instead they spread themselves too wide. And so they say, today I'm going to talk about sustainability of work-life balance as a contractor. Sometimes they're talking about customer impact stories. Sometimes they're talking about how they work. Sometimes they're talking about tips and tricks. It's fine to have one or two topics you want to talk about, but I think being, the X guy or girl, being the person that people can go to as a certified expert on a deep topic is much more fruitful of a strategy than just trying to be kind of half smart on a lot of stuff. If you look at my Twitter, for example, I talk a lot about San Francisco, where I live. And what's interesting is because I've gained a bit of a following about my commentary on politics and civic life here, whenever I post about another thing, like when I talk about my company or I talk about my personal life, I get very few likes or follows because everybody who now follows me on Twitter has come to expect content about politics from me. And I think that's actually a success case where the more that you become known for something, the more people spread your content, the more followers you get, the deeper engagement you get. So I think that's one thing, is just kind of spreading yourself too wide. Another is not using more engaging format types. So I think text-only posts certifiably perform worse than posts that have images, and posts with images perform worse than posts with videos. If you just look at I think everyone probably, you're nodding along. Anyone who lives in the world these days knows that video as a medium is much more engaging than even just than static visual content. The fastest growing platforms are TikTok and Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. And I've seen this with my own content, where when I've started to post video content, it's been getting 10, 20, 100 times more engagement than when I just post text. And it took me, as a creator, some time to get comfortable with seeing myself on camera and learning how to edit stuff. But one thing that's great about the time we live in is that people actually like raw content. They like it being unfiltered. They don't need you to be extra polished. And so it's the having a slightly lower bar for quality is actually a good thing with a lot of viewers because it seems more real than a video that's highly polished. And so, yeah, I encourage a lot of folks out there to not just write text, but to use images and, if you can, video to enhance your content.
Yeah. Do you guys do video, or do you help create videos? How does that work?
In the product today, you can upload a video into our Visual Studio, and we have thousands and thousands of video templates that have kind of shapes and text around it. So you can overlay the video with other design objects. And then you can also schedule and post those videos to TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram Reels. And coming early next year, we'll have the ability to create AI native video, where all you have to do is give us an idea, and we will generate essentially a video using stock video as well as your uploaded video, and kind of weave it into a sequence that you can then post on your own. And so that's been a big project we've been working on. It's super, super cool stuff just to see what AI can do with just a single sentence of, hey, I want to create a sizzle reel for this new sweater that we're making, or I want to create a tips and tricks video for financial consulting. It's crazy stuff, and it's great. I think there's some concerns that if the content's not really, really good, it won't break through. And so what we've been focusing on is how do we produce high quality content for our customers that looks and sounds and feels like them, not just generic internet stuff.
The follow-on question ends up being, look, you guys are making it so much easier to create content, which is a value add, obviously, like this is working. And if it becomes so easy to create high quality content for everybody, right? Like right now, almost the top 3% rise, right? The people that are willing to put in the work and time and effort, and okay, they rise to the top and their content does the best. If you multiply that by millions of people, because it becomes, let's just say Blaze takes over the content creative world, what ends up happening with like 100 times the amount of content and there's already so much content? What does that world look like? What's your vision in X years? Like, what does that look like?
I think this is a common fear from a lot of people of like, especially when it comes to AI and marketing or content, that there's this prognostication that the internet's going to get flooded with content and we're not going to be able to sort through it all, and it's going to ruin everything. And, there'll be more bad content than ever, and our lives will never be the same. I just look more to, as in a kind of a passes prologue sort of way, to the rise of other technologies in the past. And what you tend to see from the industrialization of food to GPS and phones is that a new technology often increases access to a good, and it also raises the quality bar. So, if you think about food, for example, thanks to the industrialization of food, anybody can go into a supermarket and buy tomatoes at any season, and no one's getting sick from bad meat or produce. Generally, the prices are cheaper, and so you get higher quality stuff for a lower price point to more people. Same thing is true, in the case of our mobile phones. If you remember the days of having to print out instructions, driving instructions from MapQuest, now anybody can use Google Maps on their phone at any point in the day to find a good restaurant or to get from A to B. But despite the advances in those technologies, you still see a distribution of outcomes. It's not like everybody has suddenly become an expert navigator, or everybody's eating amazing food all the time, nor eating mediocre food. I think there's, even though the curve has moved up and to the right, some people are better at leveraging those technologies than others. And so, even to this day, my brother can still not get from A to B, even though he has the latest iPhone in his pocket. And some folks are really, really good at building custom itineraries for their vacations just using Google Maps. In the same way, if you think about food, there's a lot of people that still eat terrible stuff all day long, and can't put any ingredients together. And yet we celebrate, I think, even more than we did before, really great, chef-inspired cuisine, authentic cooking, homemade dishes. And so I think when you think about those examples and you apply it to what's happening with AI and content, yes, I think there'll be more content in the world. More people will be able to create more content. Generally, it will be better than what you saw before. It'll be easier than ever to put that content online. But I think that the content that breaks out will still be from people who take the time to learn how to use these AI tools really, really well, and combine AI generated output with their own flair, with the kind of human creativity that only we can do. And so core to building Blaze for us is not just been about building the AI features, but we have a document editor and a visual studio very similar to Google Docs and Canva, where you can edit what the AI does. And that's critical to us, because we know that going back and forth with a chatbot on the internet like ChatGPT is not it. We don't think that's what the future is. We think the future is a combination of really, really good AI combined with amazing human creativity. And we think the winners will not just be, AI taking over your business, but it will be a company that knows how to use AI, taking your customers, taking your market share, taking your viewers. And so that's, I think, the real battle is how will you, as a competitor in a broader market, take advantage of this new technology to your benefit, or will you be left behind?
Look, I definitely don't think it's like a doomsday scenario. That was not what I was alluding to. More of just like, what could this look like with just 100 times or 1,000 times or 1,000,000 times the amount of content if everyone has such easy access to these tools? And the tools are, look, they're only going to get more of them and they're only going to get better. And my take a little bit is everyone's experience, let's just say professional experience, is unique. And so if I can go the extra mile to communicate with the tool what my experience is, then it can do a better job publishing content. And if I just say, write me a marketing report of 2025, hot trends in marketing, yeah, it's going to be generic. And then all the people that do that, which is probably the middle 50%, they have generic content. It doesn't do as well. So I totally agree with you. Like the best will rise to the top, just the best takes on a different form. Right. And so you got to adapt. You're always adapting. Right.
Certainly, and the way that algorithms work on a lot of these social media platforms where we're consuming content is there's kind of an exponential curve where the top 10% of content is shared with 80 or 90% of people, and the bottom 50, 60, 70% of content very few people ever get to see. And so I think what will happen to you and me as consumers of content is we will see better and better content that expresses more and more human creativity. I think we're already witnessing this. When I go onto Instagram or TikTok, I'm amazed by what people create because there's so much more competition out there now in terms of ideas and creative that a lot of the bad stuff no one ever sees. The algorithm deprioritizes and basically gives even more visibility to the winners. And so I think again the curve will move out and to the right, but I think what we'll end up experiencing as consumers of this content is better and better stuff that will get more and more famous because of how good it is, rather than just kind of a morass of middling, mediocre stuff throughout the feed.
I'm going to change topics a little bit. I'm curious on, one of the things that you've talked about is leveling the playing field for small companies versus large enterprises with AI. And my take on this is the large enterprise just has so many more resources to make things look beautiful and professional and all editing and transitions and background, all this stuff. Okay. And the individual, let's just say our listener, doesn't have that budget. And my take actually is it's a good thing that the individual is not making their stuff look so professional. It doesn't need to, right? Like they know a company hiring a fractional is not hiring a massive company, and they know that, and they prefer that in an individual case, right? Like they're choosing to do this. So you shouldn't pretend like you're someone else, like you're this beautiful production studio. So I tell people like don't make your videos look amazing at all. It's about yes, look nice, look presentable, right? But even you and I here right now, we're not trying to pretend like we're in these like massive like offices with like thousands of no, we're just going to be who we are, right? I'm curious your take on that. Is it different? Yeah, what do you think?
This is why we started the business in the first place. My parents are entrepreneurs. My brother's a founder of a startup. My grandfather ran an insurance company. I come from a long line of small business owners, in other words. And I think if you look at the stats, well, it's never been easier to start a business in America. It's also never been harder to grow one. And so since the pandemic, new business starts are up over 200%. More and more people are going on their own, becoming their own bosses. But yet, most businesses, 70% of businesses in the United States still don't have a website. 97% of ads are unprofitable. 94% of all blog posts aren't ranking at all in SEO. So we see a lot of folks who are creating social media profiles but not getting any growth from them. They are creating websites but not getting any growth from them. And everyone talks about how small businesses are so great, but we don't think I haven't seen for a long time tools that actually help entrepreneurs and freelancers and consultants be able to take their idea and turn it into real revenue, a real business. And I think AI does level the playing field because now you don't need to be a professional marketer to do great marketing. You can use a tool like Blaze to first learn about your business and then create content that looks and sounds and feels like you, even if you're not doing all the work yourself. I spend a lot of time talking to our customers, and before I get on a call with a customer, I always look at their Instagram page or their Facebook page or their website. And I think rather there's a difference between authentic content like you're talking about, where you can just be real, and bad content. And I think in a lot of cases, our customers would admit that what they were doing out there was not even good. It didn't just feel like there's there's authentic but well produced, or authentic and valuable in terms of substance. But what I see a lot of our customers doing is putting, like, an American flag with a holiday greeting on their Facebook page, or sharing a picture of their dog, or just talking about when their office is closed on Facebook. And you laugh because I'm sure you've seen this too. And so, I think it's important to be authentic, but you need to be putting content out in the world that shows your potential customers that you are good at what you do. And I do think people judge a book by its cover. And if your content, it doesn't have to be spectacular. Of course, no one's Nike, no one's Apple, no one's Starbucks, but your content needs to, I think a lot of folks say that, hey, if this website looks well produced, if this blog post was well written, if this newsletter is helpful, if the social media content is engaging, then that person will be really good at also delivering a service to me if I were to hire them. And I think that's the bar that fractionals need to clear, and that's where a tool like Blaze can come in. A lot of our customers, I'd say, don't want to be like Nike or Apple or Starbucks. By the way, they want to be the number one provider, often in their service area or in their vertical. And so our goal for our customers is to really help them rank to be number one within their area. And it's actually, by that metric, very achievable to get the kind of growth that the internet can deliver for everybody. You just have to produce high quality content that looks and sounds like you, that delivers value to your customers or community.
Yeah, no, I think that's well said. I'm curious. Most of our listeners are, as fractional executives, independent consultants, so they are entrepreneurial at heart. So they're always curious, and I'm also curious in an entrepreneurship journey. So tell us the story. Like, how did you get the idea for Blaze? What was the MVP? Like, tell us the origin story, and then maybe some pivots along the way. But I really want to hear the origin story.
Yeah, so our team has been working together for 5 years now. And we had a product before Blaze called Almanac, which was a collaboration tool for distributed or remote teams, which was a successful product, pretty big in the market. Most of the top performing remote teams used it. We raised venture capital for that tool, which was at its core like a document editor with version control and real-time collaboration, very similar to how engineers work in GitHub. Was reflected in how Almanac worked for people who are in documents all day long, like sales teams or marketers. We raised a lot of venture capital for Almanac, and venture capital as a funding source is very specific in that it requires high growth, really, really fast growth. I think about venture capital as jet fuel. Fuel your car. There's lots of cars on the road, need normal fuel, but you can't put jet fuel in a car. You need to put jet fuel in an airplane. The way venture capital works is that VCs are fine if every investment in their portfolio dies or fails if they have one investment that can return the fund, that basically compensates for all the losses they made everywhere else. And so the only way you win once you take venture capital is if you can grow really, really big, really, really fast. Even though there are many, many good ideas in the world, many, many good businesses are not good enough for venture capital. And so I always warn people about raising money, because you're essentially, unlike debt, where it's kind of a form of debt in a sense, where you take on money up front and then you have to make sure you pay it back later on. It's not free money. And so I say all that because Almanac, while it was a fast-growing business, wasn't growing fast enough to deliver the kind of returns I wanted to provide for our shareholders, our investors, our team. Because Almanac served a lot of sales teams and marketing teams, and it helped them collaborate or edit on documents, organize documents, what people always asked us was like, hey, but how do I generate stuff in the first place? Like, what should go in a wiki? Or like, what should a proposal look like? How should my RFP be structured? The first question wasn't, things like organizing files or approving them are later on in a collaboration journey. The first stuff is, as you first asked, what should I write about? And what does good look like? And for years, we couldn't really answer that question because we didn't have LLMs, we didn't have AI. And as this technology came about, we started playing with the idea of, wow, we can now finally help people answer the questions that they didn't have expertise to do on their own. And so when we started building AI features into Almanac, we showed it both to, I'd say, big, large enterprises who are primarily our customer base, but we also showed it to small businesses and teams of one. And the large businesses looked at it, and the reaction was kind of like, oh, this is cool, we'll try this out and play with it. But when we showed it to small businesses, people who were supporting themselves, the reaction was much more extreme. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. How do I get this right now? And that's the kind of hunger that fuels a high growth business. And so we decided to basically break off Blaze from Almanac and rebrand the tool under a new name designed for a different set of customers, and really focused in Blaze on ease of use, speed, simplicity, and also fun. A lot of consumers that use a tool like Blaze care about how they feel when they're using it. And so from our brand to our onboarding process to the experience of actually generating and posting content, we want our customers to feel like superheroes. We want them to feel like they have magical powers and actually enjoy the process of creating content, because that's the opposite of what it often feels like on your own. We basically made a pivot into Blaze, decided for a while to keep both products, but I think within the first couple of months of Blaze's launch, it was generating way more revenue than Almanac was. And we've become so overwhelmed by just trying to maintain a quality product for our fast growing user base at Blaze. We've been growing. We went from $0 a year ago to we'll be at over 8 figures of revenue, or $10 million probably in the next month or so. So we've
Wow.
grown really, really fast in about a year. And just maintaining that kind of growth is a all hands on deck effort to deliver more and more value for more and more people. So we announced last summer that we're going to sunset Almanac so that we can focus on Blaze full time. And in my mind, that's actually a successful pivot, in that it's not that Almanac wasn't working, but more that we've really tapped into, I think, an unmet need with Blaze. And that, as we were saying before, it was really easy before to post content or to manage content on social media sites or newsletters, but actually figuring out what to write, making sure it was good, there was no tool for. And so there's been a new market created around generating and editing and planning content that couldn't even exist before, because we didn't have technology to do so.
Yeah.
And we're the only tool right now, I think, focusing on this customer segment. A lot of people out there, I think, look at small businesses and think they're bad businesses. And we believe the opposite. We think small businesses are great businesses. And just because you're small doesn't mean you can't be great.
Such a cool story. Did the original investors in Almanac, is it the same legal entity? Like they're all along for this ride as well? Okay, so they're excited.
Yeah, they're happy because they're
Okay.
they're going to make their investment back for sure.
Yeah, amazing. And how big's your team today?
We are 21 people.
Okay, so
So
relatively small.
it's very small. Yeah, we have hundreds of thousands of users, and so yeah, a lot of my friends, for example, or when people I meet at cocktail parties, always ask me how big is the team, as if that's the metric for success. But really, the way that we evaluate our impact is how many customers are we serving, are they happy with the product, and of course, how much money are we making as a reflection of that. And we want to keep the team as small and lean as possible, but stocked with incredibly competent and driven and hardworking people. We used to have a bigger team actually in the Almanac days, and it's crazy to see that now a team about half the size of the team we had with Almanac is producing probably more than twice the output as before. So if you get the right people who are aligned with the mission, yeah, you can do an incredible amount of stuff.
It's amazing to ask the question, like how big is your team size to measure success or whatever, which is literally the question is, how big are your costs? How big are your payroll costs on a monthly basis as a measure of success? It's like that, when you really think about it, makes zero sense, right?
Yeah, I always want to tell people, because I'm like, oh, I don't want you to think that because they tell you a small number means that we're not successful. To me, the more incredible thing is that we have 8 engineers that have built this huge product with so much surface area that works so well for so many people. Like that to me is a feat. I always say to the team, every single person here matters, and it's true, because when one person goes on vacation, the work in their area stops, and you can feel it. Like it feels like a part of the company shuts down for a week. And of course, it's great for people to go on vacation, but it's also, it's really cool to see how individual people can have such a big impact on many, many people out in the world. There's not many companies or stages where you kind of get that feeling as an employee of, oh, wow, I'm making a difference on such a global scale, and my work matters every single day.
What do you think, time to brag, not a time to be humble. Like, what do you think is a core trait in you as a leader? And it's not necessarily to me how big the business is as far as how many customers or revenue. It's what you just talked about is people are aligned with the mission, and you have high quality people that's producing a very big product really quickly, right? It can often take like 10 years to build maybe as big of a product as you built in a year and a half. So what is the trait in you as a leader that enabled the team to build that all aligned with the mission, work really quickly, et cetera?
I think I'm incredibly ambitious as a leader. Most people underestimate what they can do, and their decisions get maybe limited by fear of failing. But I think unless you try, whatever you decide to try, you're going to be right if you think that you can only do this much, you're going to be right about that. If you think you can do this much, you might be right about that. And I think most people just don't set their sights high enough for what they can do. And I think just setting your own expectations in a much bigger, grander way inherently leads to bigger outcomes. I've started small lifestyle businesses in the past, and those are equally as hard as what we are doing. Maybe what we're doing is a little bit harder, but it's not like 10x harder. Even though the impact we're producing, the size of the business is 10 or 100x bigger than, because a lot of the work is the same every day. You still have to go to meetings, you still have to write stuff, you still have to talk to customers. Whether you do that on scale of 10 customers, 100 customers versus 100,000 or a million customers, it's actually not that different. And so I think ambition is one piece. I think I have very high expectations. I think excellence is a core virtue of our company, and I have high expectations for myself as well as for other people. We are incredibly detail oriented about everything we do here. I interview every employee, of course, but a lot of companies, the CEOs don't do that. But I read most of the emails that we draft for customers. I look at every design at every stage of every feature we produce. I QA all the features myself along with the rest of the team. And so I'm involved intimately at basically every stage of producing anything that touches a customer. And you could call that micromanagement. It is, but I don't think micromanagement is a bad thing. I think if you have to do, a really hard thing really fast, you want the leader to be deeply involved and, deeply passionate about getting it right. I don't think there's any other formula that works. I think sometimes people think, oh, well, great leaders hire great people and let them do their thing. I think that's BS. I think great leaders hire great people and then help those people produce great work every single day, because it is really hard to come to work and do your best every day. You need, I think, a coach next to you who, like a great basketball coach or sports coach, is pushing you on days when you're a little tired or you're not feeling it. For a team to produce excellence every day takes a lot of intentionality, a lot of effort.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. I think vast majority of people just don't do that, right? Don't put in the extra effort, don't go the extra mile. And then I'm curious, and you talked about, look, most companies don't get to 10 million in revenue, right? So you're already like an outlier there. And you talked about the trait in you as a leader that helped you get there is basically thinking huge, right? It's like thinking, I can do this. I'm incredibly ambitious. I'm going to shoot for the freaking moon and just see what happens, right? And believe that it's possible. What in you is, because it's different than most people, right? So like, how did you get that trait? What is there some work you did? Is there something that happened to you? Is there something that you can point to say like, this helped me be able to believe this so that I could go build a huge company that helps tons of people?
I come from a fortunate background. I grew up in New York City. I had great parents. I had everything I wanted as a kid. Didn't really suffer materially at all for anything. Was able to get a great education. I go to great schools for undergraduate and graduate degrees. And I think everybody is exceptional at something. Some people are great parents, some people are great siblings, some people are great gardeners. I think I have a set of skills personally that make me a uniquely good founder. And I have always evaluated my success in life by how much impact I'm having on other people. For me, it's not enough with feeling like with all the skills and privilege I feel like I was born into. I think it's not enough just to make a bunch of money for me and my loved ones, and then have a good life on our own. I think that would be, and I'm not judging other people for making this choice, but for me, that would be a failure, because I think I'm able to do so much more with my resources. And so for me, that has always really driven me. That am I using my time well here? Am I doing enough for other people? Because I think I will be fine. I'll always have enough for me, but can I really make the world a better place? And certainly there's many businesses have downsides to them or externalities that are bad for the world. What's great about what we're doing at Blaze is that we are enabling our customers to do things that they couldn't do before. They didn't have the skills to do, nor were there tools or technologies to help them do. And when I talk to our customers every day, I hear from people that have been able to 10x the revenue of their business thanks to Blaze, people that now rank number one on SEO due to Blaze, people that I talked to a customer that took his wife on vacation for the first time in 3 years because of the time he saved from Blaze. And so I hear these crazy stories of people being able to do so much more than they could before. And that makes me feel like I'm using my time well, that we are using technology for good. I think there's, one, certainly we're coming off of a heated election in America. And I think there's one view of the world where everybody's out for themselves. It's a zero sum game. And you can use technology to get ahead of other people and make more money than them and make yourself a winner, and they're suckers. And I think there's another view where you can use technology to help other people. Technology can bring us together. Technology can create more opportunities and better outcomes for more people. And I see that happening every day with Blaze, and that really fuels my ambition more than anything else, to know that I'm using my time, but our team is using our time to create another future for the world where people can become heroes of their own stories. They can control their own destinies. They can make more money than they ever could before. And I love working with entrepreneurs because, as you said, they're so proud of what they do. There's so much strength every time I talk to a customer and what they've been through, and building something that helps them break through another barrier is very gratifying.
I just want to double click. I want you to just repeat. You said, what is your definition of success?
The impact I have on other people.
I think to some degree, if I'm being honest, myself included, part of the reason I started a business is financially driven. It is, right? I want to make a lot of money for myself. I want to make a lot of money for my employees, for our investors, all those kinds of things. I want to create something of real value, like financial value. But that is not why I started this company. Right? I could have started any company in the world, and I have a background in logistics. Honestly, it probably would have been an easier sector to go after, is like build and freight. It's an $800 billion industry in the US alone. I built in this because I love our customer and I love the problems that they have. And that's what gets me up in the morning, right? Because there's no way I'm getting up in the morning with the fire to like handle the challenging shit I deal with and you deal with every day, if it's just like going to be a number at the end of the day, because that doesn't actually get you anything.
Yeah, I think, yes, I feel the same sense of gratitude for working on a business where I love our customers, I love our products, and I'm happy to work on all the BS and eat all the glass I have to eat every single day to serve them. I've certainly worked on businesses and on ideas where I just didn't care as much about what the product was or who the customers were, or what the mission was. And this is so much more satisfying. I mean, even the pain feels worth it. I think life is pain, life is suffering, and a lot of the choice we have is what suffering do we choose. And that's true outside of work, but it's certainly true about work. And no job is fun all the time. Most jobs are full of pain, and I enjoy the pain of striving to start and scale this business for our customers because of the impact it has on them. And I think I don't think I could have started just any business. I think there's many things out there where I just don't care enough about the product, and I would probably have given up by now because it's just not the pain for me. That pain would not have been worth it.
Yeah. Wow. We got to wrap up here. How can our listeners find you? I'm sure they can find Blaze pretty easily online. We'll also link in the show notes, but how can they find you or reach out to you in some way?
Yeah, well, as we talked about, I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter, so you can give me a follow there. But what I mentioned for your customers is that we have a huge amount of free content and a free community where other fractionals, contractors, entrepreneurs, agencies, freelancers are all online helping each other out. And part of our mission is helping teams of one get a leg up and get ahead, whether or not they're customers of our product. And so for anyone out there that's just looking for tips and tricks on either how to use AI, of course, how to use Blaze, but also just things you can do in the real world offline to get to move your business forward, I would encourage you to go to blaze.ai and check out our free community and resources. It's pretty incredible to see how people are helping each other. Of course, we'd love you to try out the products as well.
Yeah, amazing. Where do they find the community? I'm on the website now. I just want to make sure that people can find it. All right, Adam, thank you so much for your time and just sharing all the wisdom with us. Congrats on the growth so far. No small feat. So just thanks for being with us and sharing everything.
Yeah, thanks for having me.